Welcome to the podcast where we keep it real, talking all things women on the Iconic Women Show with your host, Michelle Watson, author, founder, public speaker, and certified performance coach. Get empowered and inspired while learning about overcoming adversity, spirituality, life, and business strategies that will help you achieve your goals. And now, here's your host, Michelle Watson.
Okay, great. Guys, welcome once again to the Iconic Woman podcast, the place where we keep it real, talking all things women. And today we're going to be covering a topic that not only women can relate to, every single individual can relate to this topic. And we have another phenomenal woman in the house, another iconic woman in the house. We're going to dig very deep because, as I said, we keep it real. I'm your host, Michelle Watson. And with me, we have an amazing woman that works with other women that have gone through manipulating and controlling relationships. She's a best-selling author. She's a trainer, a multi-award-winning international speaker. And she also works with corporates in dealing with handling difficult relationships. Today with us, we have the amazing Ruth Driscoll.
Hi, Michelle. Hi, everyone.
And Ruth, I know that I mentioned a lot of things about you, but I love to leave it to my guests to kind of share with the audience who they really are, because these are all titles. And I get it, right?
Yeah.
But the titles is not you necessarily, the individual. So tell us a bit more about you.
Yeah, well, the thing is with the work that I'm doing right now, that was kind of never part of the plan.
Okay.
You know how sometimes life sends those curveballs and you suddenly find you're heading in a completely different direction to the one you thought you were heading on.
Yeah.
So I worked in education. I worked with primary school children. So that's from age 3 up to 11. And I was at the stage where I was actually the head teacher of a primary school in a very challenging environment, in a city, lowest 5% of socioeconomic deprivation.
Wow.
So a very needy, very diverse, very vibrant community. And within this community, I was thinking to myself, it's really hard to bring up families in this environment because out on the streets, there's gangs, there's drugs,
A lot.
guns, even knives, and dog fights. Not the most inducive environment for bringing up a young family.
Yeah.
But it was also hugely rewarding.
Nice.
But now here's where the weirdness of life steps in, because it was whilst I was this head teacher working successfully and very enjoyably within this challenging environment, and at home I was in an abusive relationship.
Wow.
And that's where the curveball came in, because what happens is when you're in such a relationship, the way in which it works, in which you're almost drawn down into a Venus flytrap of life, and it's when you're right there at the bottom and you kind of have a sense of what's going on here and what's happening, and you're in the worst place to be able to do something about it.
Yeah.
Fortunately for me, because of the skills I already had and the stage I had reached in my life, I found the courage to actually throw him out.
Nice.
So yay, woo! But of course, for anyone who has been in such a situation, you will realise that that's not the end of the story.
Oh, no, it's not. Never is it?
No, no, and indeed, it's something worth knowing that things can actually get worse.
Yeah.
Because once that person has lost that control of you, they are desperately trying to get that back. And I know, Michelle, you are sadly well acquainted with that situation yourself.
100%.
But of course, when you are a successful woman,
Yeah.
even if it's only in perhaps that one area of your life at that particular time. But it's, you know, as women, we do feel I've got to keep going. I've got to
Yeah.
stay in charge. You know, I've got to. I can't just sit back and, you know, and let this happen to me. I've got to get back in charge, and so you keep trying to continue in the way that you were before, and you're not allowing yourself any time to sort of take a step back and reflect.
Yeah.
And when you do things like that, guess what? You pay a price.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Talk about it
so
now.
I did pay a price, and the price I paid was my health. And in fact, you know, as I had been at that pivotal moment where I had thrown him out, which was quite a catalytic moment in my life. And as a result of that, it was just a few days later, in fact, I started showing the symptoms of a serious stress-related condition.
Wow.
But I'm keeping going, you know. I've got to
We
be
do
this
that,
head
isn't it?
teacher,
We
and
do
I've got to
that,
be
yeah.
this mum.
Have to show up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But and then, you know, what happens is the way I described it at the time to myself was, it was like inside me I was saying, okay, head, you're not listening. Heart, you're not listening. So guess what? Me, body, I'm going to stop you in your tracks. And I'm going to make you address this. And so it was several months later that I found myself in a hospital bed. With, you know, like all sorts of tubes and
Sticking
drips
out
and
injections.
can't
and
even raise
everything.
my head from the pillow.
Wow.
And literally thinking, oh my God, is this it? And my son, bless him, you know, coming to visit me, and it was a January, and it was snowing, and the thought of him trudging through the snow to come and sit by my bedside where I can't even raise my head from the pillow, and trying to read me snippets from the newspaper to amuse me and things, and I thought, right, okay, listen, woman,
Yeah.
you got to sort yourself out
put things
here.
up now.
You got to sort yourself out.
Wow.
But the other result of that was because I thought, oh, you know, I get back to my job because I was feeling guilty about that. That's it, isn't it? When you're a woman,
Guilt.
You just feel guilty about everything. So they, you know, I was given sick leave, and then every so often I had to go in to visit HR so they could assess how I was doing. And I think, brilliant, I'm fine. I'm going to go in, and
You're ready.
I'm ready. I'll be back in school next week. So I'd go in to see the HR lady, and she'd say, so how are you? And I'd be, I'm absolutely fine. I don't know why I'm crying. There's nothing wrong with me. I promise you, there's nothing wrong with me. And she'd say, I don't think you're ready. I am, I promise. And of course, when I look back, and often this is the thing, when you look back, and I realised I was actually having an emotional breakdown, but of course I wasn't giving myself time or space or even a recognition. What, me? But that's not me. I don't do that
I'm
stuff.
warrior. I'm Gina. Zena, I'm saying Gina. Zena, the warrior princess. Yeah. Keep going.
But the net outcome of that was that I had to resign from my position as head teacher because I realised that I had to find a life that had less stress involved. And, you know, obviously I wasn't at that point in the place where I could have returned to this job that, although the peaks were high, the troughs were low, so it was a job that kind of drained your lifeblood, however rewarding it was.
A lot of people are in that position, unfortunately.
So then I had to work out, well, how am I going to earn my living? And actually, I had done a qualification in becoming a life coach. Because I somewhere in the back of my head, I thought, you know, this job is so demanding. You know, nothing to do with what was going on at home at this particular point, just the job I was focusing on. I thought if I do a
Just do a hard
qualification in
work.
life coaching, you know, then I've got something
Can
if I
transition
can't
to.
make it through to retirement age, and I need to take it a bit easier, I can do something different. So I thought, right, I've got a qualification in life coaching. I'll set up a business as a life coach. Yes. How do I set up a business? Okay, I need to find out about that. So it was in a sort of discovering how to set up a business as a life coach that I joined this mastermind group, and I learned that as a life coach, you need to niche. You
Okay.
need to have a speciality. You can't just be
just
a
serving every and anyone.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought, brilliant. Okay. So we're sitting in this mastermind meeting, all sitting in a circle of chairs in a beautiful hotel near Dorking in Surrey. And I'm saying, okay, well, you know, I could do leadership. I could do parenting. I could do child development. I could do confidence.
Could do a lot.
There was a lot. Yes, there's so much I could do. And they went, no. I said, what? You need to do that thing. You know, what happened to you? I said, what? The abusive relationship. You need to do that. I was like, what?
I ain't going there.
Absolutely no way.
And that's when the Mr. Man showed up. Fear.
Yes. And because, do you know what it was? And I didn't say it at the time. I said, well, you know, I'd rather forget that happened to me. And this is why, you know, so many people remain with a residue from being in any kind of
100%.
abusive relationship.
100%.
Because you just want to forget it. And the other thing that I didn't say out loud, but I knew was the truth, I was ashamed.
Yeah.
I was so ashamed.
That shame.
How do you stand in front of people and say that? And you know, it was a friend that said to me, Ruth, how could you let that happen to you? But you know, there was the way that she phrased that made me think, hang on a second here. And this is one of the key learnings that I had in those early stages. She said, how could you let that happen to you? Not how could this happen to you?
You
how
gave
could you
permission.
Yes.
You opened the door.
Yes. And I thought, OMG. Yes. There's something that I'm doing here.
Yeah.
That
something
allowed that to
feeling.
happen.
Yeah.
I think I'm being, you know, kind, supportive, and, you know, doing everything I possibly can to make this relationship work. But what I was not doing was protecting myself.
Wow.
And so I had to go on another big journey. Apart from, you know, how am I going to earn my living? It was because this is the other thing that happens, as you know, Michelle, when you're in an abusive relationship, you lose who you are.
Absolutely.
You can look in a mirror and think, who the heck are you?
You've gone on with the label of queen, and you come out with the label of, I don't even know.
You don't even know
you
what's
don't
in
even know.
that. Yeah, the labels are all scrunched up and they're on the floor.
Unrecognizable.
Yeah.
Unrecognizable.
So I had to learn who I was again.
Yeah, 100%. And I always say to individuals that I went for a period of losing the identity in order to recognize who I truly was. Because what happened is I now took on the identity that this person had placed on me. Right?
Yeah.
So I took on the identity that he gave to me. And so I needed to lose that. So I went for a period of feeling completely lost.
Yeah.
But it was needed. I needed to strip myself of that, be lost in order to find myself again.
Yeah.
But I was crippled with a lot of fear, which brings us to today's topic. Fear, friend or foe?
Well, it's such an interesting question because, of course, you know, the immediate response would be, well, you know, it's fear. You've got to be afraid of it. But I feel that the most beneficial way is to redefine it. You know, what is fear doing? And as you know, I've done a TEDx talk around this
I
subject.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
Which is really reframing fear. You know, anyone that's done any kind of work around the whole sort of neuro-linguistic programming, that kind of thing. If you're focusing on a problem in one direction, but if you reframe it, then you can be more solution focused around it. It makes you think differently around it.
Yeah.
Same with, you know, being with an abusive person. Just reframe the way you're looking at them. Yeah. So I sort of I don't even know where this came from. You know, but I sort of thought, well, if we look back at why do we have fear? Why, you know, because there's nothing about us as human beings that's there for no reason. It's all been part of an essential part of our evolution.
Yeah, our journey.
And so it was thinking about, well, what was fear doing? Well, fear was what happened when you were in danger.
Yeah.
And the adrenaline would kick in. The fight, flight, or freeze responses set in. But at the time that we were evolving, I mean, I know we're still evolving, but, you know, if we look right back to prehistoric times, that sort of, that was kind of a defense mechanism, wasn't it? You know, knowing 100%. What to do when an imminent danger was there. So it's very much part of who we are. It's part of us and part of our human responses. But, you know, I mean, the world we live in today is just, it's so much more complex.
Oh, yeah, definitely is. Nothing straightforward.
Yeah. and because, you know, we don't really live, you know, out in nature or, you know, we're in houses, we're in concrete jungles. And we're sort of also bombarded with so much information and so many different kinds of decisions and things that we have to be making, that we've kind of lost touch in a way with our instinctive behaviors.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, we've got so much in us that we're not really tapping into anymore. And the problem with fear now is that the way that I frame it is, you know, like, you know, fear, he saved us as a human race. But these days, you know, rather than going into a spot of retirement, fear is now our health and safety department.
Yeah.
And so if you looked at his job description, he's got one thing that he does, and that's to keep you safe.
Yeah.
And so every time there's like a little bit of a decision to be made, should I, shouldn't I?
Goes to the safest option.
Keep you safe.
Keep you safe.
Yeah,
stay in the comfort zone.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I love your talk. That's the reason why my viewers have to see this talk. And I promise you, you know, if you stay through to the end of this podcast, because you'll get to see, because the way that you formulated it, and it really opened my eyes to the fact that that's the reason why I had to say friend or foe. Because for some people, like, fear is so bad. It is so wrong.
Yeah.
It is so terrible. In my mind, so I guess the question that I have for you is like, because obviously when you were going through that situation, even from the talk that you did, it's like fear came up with so many reasons, and I battled the same thing. If I leave, will I be able to maintain the home? Oh my God, like, will the children be okay? I'm taking them away from their father. And all of these things, like, and because the identity had now gone, you know, am I capable of actually maintaining life after separating myself from that individual? And so in that whole picture, fear, he's really showing up as two things right there, isn't it? Because there's nothing wrong with checking to make sure that this thing is going to be okay for me.
Yes.
This next decision is going to be okay for me. However, going from the foe aspect, he could end up keeping you in a situation that could eventually kill you.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing here is, when you are in the grip, if you like, of somebody who's controlling and abusive, they play on that, and you inadvertently let them know how they can press those buttons that put the doubt and the fear into your own mind, and therefore you become increasingly uncertain, and it's the uncertainty that creates those the feelings, the physical feelings that fear gives you. Like your stomach's feeling delicate,
doing a flip,
doing a churn, or your heart's beating too fast, or you're starting to get a little bit clammy, and palms get sweaty. It's all of those physical feelings of fear, and somebody who is manipulative, controlling, that's how they do it. That's how they play on you in that way. And what you don't realize is, because you're busy just being you in the best way that you know you at that particular point in time, and you've inadvertently let them know what buttons they can press that keep that control on you. And so it's recognizing that that what they're doing is they're relying on you feeling fearful, so that they can maintain the control. And as you say, you know that your logical mind somewhere tells you, but if I stay here, it's just going to get worse. But it's the fear that because they also put in that the anticipated fear of what something even worse will happen.
Could happen if you leave.
Go.
Yeah. 100%. And again, it plays out all of this, not just even obviously where you were mentioning a while ago from an abusive relationship aspect, but even when we now take it to the aspect of life in general, when we look at procrastination, when we look at somebody wanting to start a business or start a family, because even for me to enter into another relationship after my experience, the fear was a lot, because it's like, I can't trust myself to make any decision again because, I messed up. How can I trust myself to make another decision? I made a bad one. Right? I put myself in danger. I started a family with this individual. So how much more wrong could I get it? So now when you want to move on as an individual, start another relationship, start a business, invest, all of these things, there's a big red question mark hanging. Are you making the right decision? And you end up struggling with so much limiting beliefs without even recognizing it. And so he's become like, just like you said, he's become like a guardian standing watch to make sure you don't make that mistake again.
Exactly.
And so it's so hard to decipher between friend or foe, because he's actually trying to be a friend. He's actually trying to be a friend to say, stop, you made a mistake before.
Because remember, his job description only has one thing on it: keep you safe.
Right? But actually, that keeping you safe can actually be keeping you small.
Yes. And that is the key thing. But this is why getting the awareness of this out there is so important. And it's because, when I said at the beginning, when you're in that kind of relationship, you're spiraled down and you're in the worst place to do anything about it. Because what you are now sort of overloaded with the feelings that fear is putting on you, which are about not trusting yourself anymore, not believing that you are capable of making any more decisions,
that would be good.
that you're going to mess it up again. And that's why having the message out there that even if you're in that place and at this you're feeling powerless, that you can start to reframe it. That's the thing. Think, hang on a minute, fear. I see what you're doing here, and thank you so much. Thank you for being that superhero who saved the human race. But I've got to make my own decisions now. And I know you talked about the comfort zone.
Yes.
because that's where fear sends you. You know, go back to the familiar, go back to the comfort zone. So we rename it. It's not a comfort zone. It's fear's waiting room.
Ooh, I love
Keeping
that.
you waiting.
Come. You need to tell us a bit more about that, because it's mad. You know, it is fear's waiting room, and that's why you have so many people end up not doing anything at all.
Yeah.
Because they're still sitting there waiting for some magic thing to happen that will either change the feeling that they're having, that negative feeling about whatever step that they're going to take. They're waiting for the right moment.
Yeah.
They're waiting for the right answer. And the right answer or the right moment doesn't come in you waiting. It actually comes in you taking steps. You may fall, you get back up, and you realize, okay, there's a block right there, or there's a trip hazard right there. So now I know, okay, I can navigate my way now around it.
Exactly.
But if you stay in that comfort zone,
Yeah.
you have no idea of what's out there waiting for you.
No.
And so you have these, you know, they say that, they always say that the term that the graveyard is the richest place because it's a place where ideas that weren't birthed is and all of that. But people never normally look at it and say, actually, it's the greatest place of regret.
Yeah.
There's so many regrets there. Regret not starting the business. Regret not, you know, starting the vision that you were given.
Yeah.
And if you were to look at all of those regrets, at least 99.9 of it didn't give birth because of fear.
Yes. And so what you got to do is you got to think of fear. He's standing there outside the waiting room with his clipboard, you know, health and safety officer, checking, is it safe yet? No, it's not safe. Stay in there. You stay in there till I say it's safe to come out. And so sometimes having that sort of comical imagery, it helps you to just change your energy state.
I love it.
You've got, you know, by reframing, and especially if you can make it something that makes you laugh. Have a little comical image in your head of fear, you know, perhaps wearing his little white coat, pterodactyl skin hat on his head, and a clipboard, just checking if everything's safe, and that makes you sort of think, I see what fear's doing, but I'm not going to stay in that waiting room anymore. I need to get out there.
And even when I watch your talk, I don't want to give too much away from it, because I know that I'm going to make sure that it's attached to this podcast for the viewers to watch it. I love the fact of when you speak about, you know, how long would you stay in a waiting room for? Like if I go to the hospital or I go to the doctors and I'm sitting there and I see that my time that my appointment was let's say 10 o'clock, and it's now 10:30, I'm going to be going to the receptionist and asking, like, how far am I on the list? Like, am I good? And if it gets to 12, the guarantees are I'm going to leave, right? I'm not going to sit there and say, you know what, I will stay until maybe midnight. The doctor is definitely going to see me. There's going to come a point where I'm going to be like, nah, enough is enough. I need to go.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because we almost have that sense inside us of how long something should take. You know, have you ever sat at traffic lights?
Yeah.
And you have a sense of how long the traffic lights stay red, and then you're going to move. But maybe, you know, there's roadworks going on, and so the traffic lights are staying red much longer. And think about what happens to your body. You know, you start going, and you start getting twitchy, and you're
watching if the other cars are going, because if they're going, that means their light is green. So,
so you know, your body is telling you, I need to move. And so it's the same sensation. You know, if you were stuck in the waiting room and it was your appointment time,
keep looking at the clock.
You know, you'd start off sitting nice and calmly, but then you'd be fidgeting. You know, what's going on? And that's what's happening to you when you're allowing fear to hold you back. And that's, you know, the uncomfortable feeling you get when you know you're procrastinating. You know that you're distracting yourself. Well, I just need a quick cup of tea and then I'll get on with it. You know, you're going into that sort of twitchiness, and that's your body telling you, you know, you've waited here long enough. It's time to move.
And it's funny because a lot of people don't realize that it manifests in many different ways. Even in your own body, you become ill without realizing you're looking for all the medication to help you, but the real help is really the mind. You know, the Bible says this important thing that, you know, God has not given me the spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. And what I always say about that scripture is this, that the fact that he's not given me the spirit of fear, but love, power, and a sound mind. I always say to myself, there's obviously something there to do with the mind. And there needs to be obviously some sort of mental shift to step away from that fear. And I know that you were talking about bringing it to a place of, you know, picturing fear as a clown, or picturing fear as, you know, somebody that's standing there with a ticking board,
health and safety
officer ticking all of these
whatever
things.
Works, you know,
whatever works. And so I guess my question then is, for somebody that is battling with that, you know, because for some people the fear comes from, I've seen this happen to my parents. So for instance, you know, if we look back at our life and the fact that we went through an abusive relationship, and for me, like, my daughter saw that, right? And so for her, the fear can be, I don't want what happened to my mother to happen to me, and so I don't want to be in a relationship with anyone. And so she may go on this route of just, even though it's not that she doesn't actually want it, it's just the fear that is stopping her from entering into that. Or she goes into the relationship with the fear that, what if this person does this to me?
Exactly.
Or somebody seeing somebody's business fail, or hearing the common thing of, even some people struggle with buying a house because somebody, if they have the conversation with the wrong person, that person is telling them,
so-and-so got ripped off.
So-and-so got ripped off, or they lost their house, or the bank took it back. But that doesn't mean it's going to happen to you.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so there needs to be a shifting that happens in the mind. And so if you were to, like, speak with someone right now, like, what would be some of the things that you were telling them that they should really exercise and do?
Well, I think that one of the big things here, and thinking especially about women and the way we always feel guilty and we don't want to be letting anyone down. And, you know, what you were saying there about your daughter, that's probably one of the biggest things that makes you feel guilty, that she saw that, and how is it going to affect her and damage her. And so here it's we have got to be certain that we are living our message. We're being the person that we would want our children to be.
Like a mirror.
We're in a mirror. Do you know what? Have you ever had one of those, you know, sort of moments that almost takes your breath away? Because I had one of those moments. It was a year ago, and I, you know, I'd been given this award, which came sort of out of the blue, and it was for resilience.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, wow, you know, it was really unexpected. And I went along to the awards evening, and my daughter and my granddaughter, my little 5-year-old granddaughter, were with me. And it was after I'd received my award, and she was sitting on my lap and she was holding the award. And she looked at me and she said, "I'm proud of you, Nana."
Aww.
I thought, I mean, there's nothing more precious than that.
Wow.
And, you know, what if I stayed in that abusive relationship, Michelle?
In that waiting room.
Waiting. How could, what if I was still in that fear's waiting room? That moment would never have happened.
It wouldn't. I know.
How could she be proud of me?
Yeah.
If that I'm stuck in fear's waiting room.
Yeah.
And it's things like that that really make you catch yourself on.
Yeah.
And you know, you know, even when you're taking those steps, fear's still going to be there. You really ought to. The self-doubt's still going to be there.
Of course.
And this is where you've just got to act in spite of it. You've got to just continue that journey.
Yeah.
And the belief in yourself builds.
Yes, by doing. By doing.
You know, the way I often describe it, you know, with when I ended up in that hospital bed, it was a little bit like you know, the universe was up there and pointing a finger down at me in my hospital bed and going, "Ruth, I need to have another word with you." You know, it's those moments where you think, I can't keep doing it this way. I've got to be better. I've got to be a much wiser version of myself.
And that is it.
And what you don't want to do is lose the qualities of you, because that's what can often happen. And again, it's fear that's playing its part there, because you think I need to build a bigger wall around myself to stop,
build bigger walls,
to stop keep myself safe. Yes,
barriers.
Yeah, but it's recognizing who are you and being proud of who you are. You see, I've what I believe. We have this sort of myth that people who are in abusive relationships, it's because there's something weak about them. It's the opposite. It's because of your strength. Because they need to suck all that from you, because they are so inadequate themselves.
And insecure.
But what you fail to recognize at that time is that your strengths are there, and their kindness, support, generosity, love, all of those things are there as your strengths, which you should be being valued and cherished for. That they are using and taking for themselves. But you don't want to lose those wonderful qualities of you. But what you've got to realize is you've got to be wiser. You've got to still be the you that you are, but you also need to know how to protect yourself.
No, definitely. I love that because I think it's by going through those moments that we're able to actually grow.
Yes.
Right? And recognize, okay, well, what can I do better? Okay, I messed up. What could I do better the next time? How could I do it differently? How can I do it differently the next time? And I love the fact that you were speaking about, if you didn't come out of that room, you wouldn't give birth to what's happened now.
No.
And it's the same thing with everyone.
When I think about everything that's happened since.
And it's the same for me, because when I look at all that I've been able to do since, I know that if I was in that relationship, I wouldn't have been able to do it.
No.
Because the control would have consumed me.
Yeah, because it had to be all about him.
Yes.
And his
always.
needs. And you don't figure in that apart from to supply
whatever you need, I'm here to supply. And I guess and that's why I know that for a lot of people, fear stems from so many different things. It could be, and it's just, what I always look at this story with my daughter, my youngest daughter. When she was young, like around 3 years old, she would touch everything. She wasn't scared of anything. She's held snakes, turtles, tarantulas, things I would never even dream of touching and holding. This girl is scared of a fly right now at the age of 11.
Yeah.
And it just goes at the age of 12. And it just goes to show that as we go through life, right, we pick up so many things that comes into our belief system that plants so much fear. You turn on the news. If you were to follow the news every day, you would not want to leave your house. Right? And sometimes we don't realize how these things subconsciously have affected the way that we navigate. We're afraid to make friends. Because that person is going to do me wrong. There's so much fear, and I think it's really driven. And even today, like, you walk down the street and you say hello and smile at someone, the first question that they have in their mind, what is this person trying to pull off? Fear. And it's sad. But that's what the world has been feeding. And so that's why I believe it's so important for people to also channel the opposite. Have those affirmations that can really counteract that fear. Because as we know, they always say fear is false evidence appearing real. But I remember a friend of mine once saying, fear is also forgetting everything and running. Forgetting everything and running. And when I heard that, I was like, okay, what are you talking about? Okay, for instance, you could be so good at something, right? And you're like, somebody's like, go and start a business. You're very good at this. Go and do it. You forgot, at that moment, fear made you forget how brilliantly you just made something. just because of the fact that you now hear the word business. I'm going to have to put it out there for people to see it.
Yeah.
And so fear makes you forget how good you are, to make you start thinking, no, it's not going to sell. So you forget it and you start running with the narrative that nobody's not going to buy it.
Yeah.
Right? And so you've forgotten. And even from the scope of forgetting who you are as an individual, forgetting who you are as someone that has been created, and you forget the beauties about you. And I think we did that even in that relationship.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
At some
you
point,
lose
I
yourself.
forgot. Yeah, I forgot who I was. Ruth.
Yeah.
I forgot that I was this brilliant girl that went to school, that did so well.
Yeah.
School counselor, debate team. I forgot that person.
Yeah. And me the same. Yeah.
And
I had no idea who I was.
And I ran with what he gave me.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing, and it's very concerning, because I think about the younger individuals of today, and I don't know if you see what I see, Ruth, where they've become so fearful that everything in life now is a comparison for them. They can't even trust or believe in their own pathway. They believe that unless I am looking like somebody else,
Exactly.
unless I'm doing what somebody else is doing, I won't be able to achieve anything. And they don't even recognize that this is fear. They actually have a fear of getting it wrong.
Yes.
So because I don't want to get it wrong, let me copy somebody else that is successful.
Exactly.
But we're two different people, living two different lives.
Yeah.
And for like some of the women that you have worked with, that you've seen them battle this fear, like, how difficult has it been for you to see that? Because it's almost like, I've been here. And I know that if I had continued to let fear hold me back, I wouldn't have the achievements that I have today. How do you manage this? Because you're now looking at somebody being in that same position. The only thing is they're not finding the strength to push beyond it and get out of the waiting room.
Yeah.
How frustrating. Do you find it frustrating? Do you find it painful? What actually happens with you when it shows up?
Yeah. Well, what happens here is we've got to kind of look at really a very basic principles that underpin everything. And the first basic principle to understand, because you're not going to be able to make a move until you understand this principle, and that is, it's no good waiting for the other person to change. The change has to happen within you.
Yeah.
Now, that's not about it being any kind of fundamental change and becoming a different person. It is about being wiser and recognizing your strengths and your qualities, but also looking at what you are doing that's allowing people to take advantage in that way. So that's one of the key things that has to be recognized and understood. The next thing, I think, it's about also recognizing that when it comes to somebody who needs to control in that way, they only succeed if you allow them.
Ooh.
Without that, what have they got? They actually haven't got anything. They rely on you showing up in fear because of the tactics that they are using against you. What happens if you don't? What happens if somebody's coming at you with great anger? What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to recoil, or you might even do the opposite. You might come at them with anger as well. And then they'll say, well, look at you. No wonder I get cross with you. Look at the way you behave. And twist it all around. So they're relying on you reacting. Yeah. But what if you don't? What do they do then? What if you just, stay calm, stay present, stay absolutely congruent with who you are? Then all they can do is shout louder, get more aggressive, but they actually can't sway you. So you've got to stay completely, recognize what it is that they're trying to do by using fear against you, but you're saying, no, I'm actually not afraid here. Now, you might think, well, they're going to get even more aggressive and they're going to come at you with perhaps even violence at this point. And if there is violence involved, you have to get yourself out of there. You know, I'm not advocating anyone putting themselves in a place where they're likely to be physically harmed. That's actually the more extreme example here. The majority of people are not really in that place where it's the physical violence that's the problem. If it is physical violence, you simply just have to remove yourself. But if it is that, you know, they're relying on being aggressive, being domineering, being overbearing against you, if you don't respond to that, but you stay congruent with who you are, the only thing that they can do is climb down from that. And here, this is the other absolutely fundamental principle that has to underpin everything that you do, and it underpins everything I do with my clients, and the principle they have to take through everything is respect. You always behave with respect. And that can feel hard because you think, well, you know, they deserve everything that's coming to them. No, it's never going to work that way. You have got to be the model of the behavior that you want to see.
Yeah. It can be hard though, isn't
it's
it?
very hard.
It's very hard.
And that's why what you think about this is not about justice being served here, because you're not going to get anywhere with that. It's not about this person recognizing what a rotten human being they are and coming and, you know, saying sorry to me or whatever it might be. It's never going to happen. This is about being strategic.
Yeah. It is,
so it's a strategy that you're using. It's not about you kowtowing to them. It's about you holding your own, not being swayed from the person you are, and maintaining dignity, respect, and grace through everything that you do.
What if you're not feeling that dignity? What if you're...
That's why you need to recognize it's a strategy. And you also need to recognize that this is, this is not about justice, because the point of with when you're dealing with someone who is manipulative and controlling is they don't have a conscience. If you're waiting for them to recognize how awful they are, or you know how they need to apologize to you, it's never going to happen. You've got to protect yourself here. So you've got to do the things that put you back in the control of your life. That you are behaving in a way that's congruent with who you are.
Yep, and your
you're
message.
Not trying to give back as good as you get. Doesn't work. It's never going to work.
No, it wouldn't. It becomes a ring. It's a ring. Clash of the Titans, isn't it? Clash of the Titans.
And that's where the other principle comes into play. That bully is looking for a victim, not a challenge. And although you're not challenging as in giving as good as you get, you're challenging them in that you're not, sorry, I'm not coming into your...
That's your road.
Yeah, that's your road.
The other direction.
This is me.
We're at junction. You go right, I go left.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm going to come now, because, we're at the junction. You go right. I want to go left. But, you see, the thing that I've realized with fear, right, it shows up so subtly. And that's the reason why I love the fact that to somebody, to an individual, it can become a friend. I remember speaking about this one day, fear as your friend. And somebody had an issue with me saying that. And I said, well, look at it this way. If it's somebody that you spend a lot of time with, you hear very often, and you tend to obey, then is it not your friend? Because who you're going to listen? You're not going to listen to your enemy. Because as far as you're concerned, your enemy is telling you something that is not right for you. So the fact that you decided to submit to the voice of fear, then that is your friend.
Yeah, so this is where, this is the difference between the identity of fear as the superhero and fear as the health and safety officer, ticking his clipboard. Yeah, there are times when you need fear to kick in, give you that adrenaline that gets you out of danger. And if you're in the abusive relationship and there is a potential of physical harm, that's where fear, you've got to listen to fear there. Because fear is saying to you, you need to get out from there. Even though, you know, you've got the voice of fear that the other person is giving you, you get out and now, you know, this is what will happen to you. No, you got to listen to what fear is telling you in your ear. If there's physical harm, you need to be away from there.
And that's the funny thing. The funny thing is with that, with exactly what you're saying, is that nobody would recognize that voice as fear. They don't actually recognize that voice to say, fear is telling you you're going to get hurt, get out. What they recognize only as fear is fear telling you if you leave, something's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's so beautiful that you said that, because so many people I've spoken to, they've never ever stopped and thought, actually, fear was making me have a fear for my life to leave.
Yeah.
Right?
So remember, you know, the job description, keep you safe. That's it. That's it. So are you safe if you stay? No. Then that's the one you listen to.
And if you bring it back to business or just life in general, which side of fear is showing up? You want to start a business, or you want to expand your business, and fear is saying, should you really do that? Which side of fear is showing up? Is it the side that wants to protect you, or the side that wants to actually hold you back?
I would say that's the side that wants to hold you back, because you know, it's the what if risk assessment questionnaire.
Great. So now they can actually apply that, because now if what is showing up, all this question and doubts, is about risk assessment, then you know that, okay, Mr. Safeguarding Fear, that's you. Okay, I don't need you.
Yeah. I've answered the questions. I've got the answers.
I've got the answers. I actually don't need you.
Yeah.
And I really, really love that. And it's something that can be applied with everything, you know, not just somebody that's going through obviously a domestic abusive relationship, but also it applies to anything, because we experience fear with everything. I remember when I had my car accident in 2022, was it? I think it was 2022, right? And to go back around the steering for the first time, I was so scared. You know, because my husband saw me as just being normal. I've gotten past it and everything is fine. So even when he was leaving and say, oh you'll have to do the school run today, he wasn't even thinking about the fact that this is going to be my first time going back around a steering wheel. You know, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But I knew what I was feeling within me. I'm going to go back around a steering wheel. And I remember going around that steering wheel, and fear was like, there's a car coming, you know. And this, I've been driving for years. I've been driving from I was 15 years old, right? But just because of the experience that I had, right, where I nearly lost my life, and my daughter, and the guilt again, where my daughter was in the car, where I felt like I could have taken her life prematurely, right, which was no fault of my own, but just how I felt. I had a fear of, I'm actually going to go pick my daughter up. What if? You know, the what if risk assessment. What if that accident happens again? What if the car loses control again? What if all of these things? And I remember sitting there for so long before moving that steering. And even after I moved, I was looking for every vehicle to just start moving slow. Right? And the reason why I bring that up is because so many women have gone through experiences in life, right? And they've carried on with life, but they've not actually realized how that experience has left a residue.
Yes. And, you know, experiences like that is where there was actual physical danger. And so, you know, because in your case, for example, it was an accident, fear couldn't do its job. Fear couldn't get you out of there. So then the residue that you're left with is the trauma of that. You know, the post-traumatic stress. Which is, you know, that's a different manifestation to fear stopping you from, you know, wanting to progress with your ambitions. And I think it's important to recognize the difference there, that if you've been through an actual physical danger situation, it is going to leave that residue stress within you, because fear wasn't able to do its job, was it? You know, fear's job description, keep you safe. It couldn't, because the accident happened.
Yeah.
And that's why fear's going to be in overdrive there, saying, this is dangerous, you can't do this, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
So again, it's recognizing, you know, what the job that fear has, and where it's not able to do it, it's producing a different kind of stress reaction within us. And yeah, so, and it's real, you know.
Yeah, it's real.
So we have to have a sense of what's going on here and why it's happening. Because that helps you start that path towards the recovery.
Yeah.
Because, you know, their rationale has got to start setting in again. But the fear is not going to allow that to happen because it couldn't keep you safe in that situation.
It needs to play its part, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's now desperately trying to not put you in that position again. So you know, it's sort of overreacting now, and that sort of post-trauma stress situation is an overreaction of fear. But when we recognize what fear is doing, that helps to start calming it. But yes, you know, and often that's where seeing someone who has a specialism in giving you the strategies to create the calm can help as well. But often, you know, just by having that recognition, you can do something about that yourself, to say, thank you, fear. I see what you're doing here.
Yeah.
And I love you for that. But this is not the same.
Hands off.
Yeah.
Hands off. Yeah, great. You know what we're gonna do right now? We're gonna take a little trip to go and have a look at, you know, Ruth doing. You know, I've seen it so many times, and I absolutely love it. This whole breakdown and imagery and story of fear and how it keeps us in the waiting room and all of it. Like, I'm not gonna say anymore, but you're gonna watch it right now, and I really want you to, if you can, watch it even more than one time. In that moment when you're about to experience fear, or when they say experience fear, you're going through an emotion or a moment of fear, because fear is an emotion. It's an emotion that we all feel, right? I really want you to watch this. It's beautifully done.
Thank you.
Beautifully done, and I could watch it every day. Beautifully done.
Thank you.
So please do just watch and take some notes.
So we're going to talk about something now that's so important, the human race would not have survived without it. Now, what could that be? Well, what that is fear. What? Fear? Now, think about it. You know, what happens to your body when you're feeling that emotion of fear? Your forehead gets all sweaty. Maybe your breathing's a little bit too shallow. Do you feel like your heart is hammering a little too hard? Your palms are getting all sweaty. And your mind's racing. Your mind's going, well, what if I make a mistake? What if it all goes wrong? What if I can't do this? All those feelings. And it brings up those rather unpleasant memories as well, doesn't it? You know, that bully in the playground. Or maybe there was that teacher that made you feel really inadequate. Or, as Julie reminded us, that boss who just put you down and tried to hold you down the whole time. And in fact, you know, for the people that I particularly work with, who are those who are either in or they have been in a manipulative, abusive, controlling relationship, fear is the big emotion that can really stop them from doing anything. So what do we do about that? Well, would you agree with me that if we want to really understand something, we've got to just examine it as thoroughly as we can. So if we need to find out more about fear, we need to go back in time. I mean, like way, way back in time. Forget about your 3-bedroom semi. Now you're living in a cave. Oh, but you know what? It's not so bad. You might have to put a few extra draft excluders here or there. But think about it this way. There's no windows to clean. So here you are. You're living in your cave. And, oh, do you know what? You're fancying a spot of lunch. And you think to yourself, do you know what? I'm going to go out and get myself some lovely fresh berries. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So you step out of your cave and, oh my word, look at that sky. Have you ever seen such a pure blue? There's no traces of aeroplane crisscrossing that sky. Smell that air. Oh, it feels so fresh, so pure. No blocked drains, no bins that haven't been emptied for weeks. And listen, all you can hear is the sounds of nature. No engine noises, no drilling, no car alarms going off. It's just absolutely pure and wonderful. Oh, and look at you. What's that you're wearing? Is that a new Brontosaurus leather jacket that you've got on? And matching boots? You look amazing. Oh, and look over there. Can you see that bush? Absolutely laden with the juiciest looking berries. Let's go and get some. Oh, hang on. Whoop, whoop, there's a problem. Can you see behind that bush? There's a saber-toothed tiger. And judging by the drool dripping from his fangs, I think he's after a spot of lunch as well. But fortunately for you, you're not alone. You've got a companion. It's fear, right there, yelling in your ear. Bash him on the bonds with your Brontosaurus bag and belt it! Oh, phew. That was a close one. Oh, I have to say, I thought you were a goner there. Oh, I mean, this is amazing, isn't it? What a fantastic job fear is doing for us. Saving the human race. Fear is like Superman or Batman or Sir David Attenborough. Absolutely amazing. Now, you know, after all this that he's done for us, the human race, you could kind of forgive fear if he, thought, well, I think I've earned a spot of retirement. Yeah, you might find him there, propping up the bar in the back of your brain, nursing his pint. Hippocampus, happy hour. Trying to catch the attention of any other passing emotion. Here. Did I ever tell you about the time I saved the human race? Yeah, that was me. Yeah. Do you know what they used to call me back then? The mighty, flighty, or fighty. Yeah, that was me. Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you what, we had some laughs. We really did. Oh. But you know what? Times change, don't they? People forget, don't they? Well, you know what? Fear's right. Times do change. I mean, that world where fear was our superhero was in reality very straightforward. Would you agree with me that in our world today, there's a lot more complexities, a lot more decisions that we've got to make, a lot more things that we've got to deal with and try to juggle. But, I can't imagine that fear would be taking a spot of retirement. I mean, you think about it, fear's always right there where the action's happening. So what is fear up to?
would be really helpful, wouldn't it, if we could take a look at his job description. I happen to have a copy of it with me right now. Open brackets. Takes invisible piece of paper out of non-existent back pocket. Unfolds invisible piece of paper, close brackets. What? Best I could come up with. Okay. Job description for the role of fear. Number 1. To keep you safe. That's a good start, isn't it? Number 2. That's it. Open brackets. Fold invisible piece of paper. Tucks back into non-existent back pocket. Close bracket. So, what on earth is fear up to then? What do we have in today's world where it's purely designed to keep you safe? I know what it is. It's the Health and Safety Department. Fear has become the Health and Safety Department inside your head. It says here that you are planning on embarking on a journey of self-empowerment. I don't like the sound of that. Look at this word, journey. That would seem to indicate that you are planning on removing yourself from the location of safety and launching yourself into who knows where. And this word, empowerment, power, are there cables? Is there likely to be some sort of trip hazard? Oh, no, I cannot sanction this at all. No. You will have to fill in the what-if risk assessment questionnaire. Here. What, all this? What if I leave my abusive partner, but I can't manage financially? Well, I've thought about this. I mean, I know it's going to be a bit of a struggle, but I'm thinking, well, I can get myself a job, and even though it's going to be tough for a while, but it's going to get better and better. I mean, the fact of the matter is I have no say over the finances anyway. Oh, no. You have not thought about this. You know what you're like. The minute you can't pay your bills, you're having one of your moments, aren't you? Oh, yeah, no. There's no way you're going to cope with this. And what are you, no little holidays, no little extra treats? No, I think you better go and have another really good think about this. Okay, so what if I can't cope with the loneliness? I've thought about this. I mean, I know it's going to feel a bit strange for a while, but the point of this is the loneliest place you can possibly be is inside the wrong sort of relationship. So at least this way, I give myself a chance and I can meet somebody else. Oh, no. No, you've not thought about this. You think about it. You're coming home late at night. It's all dark. You're not going to cope with that, are you? And tell me this. Who is going to remove the spiders when they appear in the corner? No. You will never cope. No, go and have another think. What if my abusive partner comes after me? Well, I did worry about this, but you know what I feel now is I've got to be able to just know how to stand up for myself. See, what I've learned is a bully is looking for a victim, not a challenge. I've just got to make sure I'm not being that victim. Oh, no. You have not thought about this. Can you imagine it? You're lying in your bed at night, you're hearing the thump of his footsteps coming up those stairs. You're going to be having your palpitations, you'll be needing your pills, won't you? No. You better go away and have another really good think. Okay. This one kind of breaks my heart. What if the children miss their father? I've really thought hard about this, and I know that it's really important that we're co-parenting together, because we both want the best for our children, for our family. And, there are agencies out there that can help us with that. But the thing that really is driving me here is that it's not good for my children to see me being treated like a doormat. I've got to be able to be a better role model for them. Oh, no. No, not a chance. You know what you're like? You know what you say? Family first, isn't it? That's your motto. Oh, no, you're not going to be able to cope at all if you remove your children from their father. No. Go away and have another think. Oh, all right. Well, look, Thea, I've filled in the what-if risk assessment questionnaire. Here, can you tell me when you'll be able to get back to me, please? Oh, well, now let me have a think. So if I do a bit of overtime, skip a few lunch breaks, things like that, I could get back to you in, let's have a think, about 5 years. 5 years? Yeah, that's if I'm doing the overtime, skipping even a holiday or two. In the meantime, I want you to wait over there in the comfort zone. Oh, why do I always end up here in the comfort zone? You know what? It's not even comfy in the comfort zone. Somebody should rename it. Well, she's right. Somebody should rename it. And I'm going to rename it right now. That's not the comfort zone. That is fear's waiting room. And let me ask you this, how long would you wait in a waiting room before you started kicking up a fuss? Before you started saying, excuse me, I've been waiting a long time. I've been waiting for my appointment with opportunity since the day I was born. And I think I've been overlooked. How long would you wait? Stop! Wait there! Stop! What? What is it, Thea? There's a saber-toothed tiger. Where? Yeah, get back in that comfort zone before it's too late. No, Thea, I'm not going back there. There are no saber-toothed tigers. They're extinct. Ow, but that's just what they want you to think. No, Thea. No, I'm not doing this anymore. I am stepping out of that waiting room. Now, when you step out of the waiting room, where do you need to go instead? Well, into the changing room. Now, what do you do when you're in the changing room? Well, this is where you're trying things on, aren't you? You've got to try a few things. Hang on, I'll be back in a sec. Excuse me. This brontosaurus leather jacket no longer fits me. Have you got any idea what that means? It means you've grown. It means that when you are in the changing room, you need to be trying on a new life. You need to be trying on a life that suits who you are, that suits where you want to go. And when you have found that, that is when you can step into the living room. Just make sure that you don't let fear interfere.
Okay, great. So I hope you absolutely enjoyed that. That was phenomenal. Again, Ruth, I take my hats off to you, right? So I do hope that you were able to really pull from this message, because you may be going through something right now, and it might not be necessarily an abusive relationship. It may be that there's some steps that you've desired to take, and fear has been safety man.
The health and
The
safety officer.
The health and safety officer, right? Trying to keep you safe. And by trying to keep you safe, he's been actually holding you in fear's waiting room. And you won't be able to truly be who God has created you to be and show up at that highest or fullest potential if you remain in that waiting room. Because whilst you wait, life is passing you by. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Iconic Woman podcast. Remember, you are a beautiful woman. You were created to do great and phenomenal things in this world. So go out there and represent. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Iconic Women Show. We look forward to having you again. So don't forget to subscribe and do the 3 R's. Leave your ratings, reviews, and recommend to your family and friends.